All right, take two, because the internet is the internet and sometimes it doesn't internet the way that I want it to internet. Was that enough times saying internet? Okay, so good morning. Welcome to Sunday's chat. I'm going to be having momentarily my friend and heart friend and mentor, all things tarot, Tanya Ryan, is going to pop on, and we're going to chat with her about the different ways that we use tarot in our lives, in our practice. And it's just an informal, super fun chat with a very knowledgeable person whose personality I really like. So if you're joining us now or joining us for the playback, please, this can be interactive. If you have questions about how to use tarot in your life, where to start, all of those things, this is the place to be this morning. I've got a nice cup of coffee in my Witch's Brew mug from a local maker. I love it. It makes me feel super special to have a Witch Brew mug. So the way that I use tarot in my personal life, for myself, is similar but different than how I read for others. When I read for others, I've got almost my detective hat on. How can I encourage, help, support, give clarity to this individual who is asking me for questions, for insight, for just more information to help them live their best life and make decisions that align with who they are and what they need. And then when I do it for myself, often it's about the parts of me that I am blocked or blinded to, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word. I don't see them, or I can't see them, or there's something beyond my control that I need to be aware of. So that is the number one way that I use tarot in my own life. And I don't use it as a crystal ball, I don't use it for fortune telling. I use it to be prepared and to know maybe all the outside influences and the internal influences related to a situation or a problem. I also ask every week. I do a collective reading in my Facebook group for everyone, and I also do one for myself privately. And the collective reading is done the exact same way, where I sit there with the deck that I'm going to use, and I sit there with the oracle cards or whatever, and I shuffle my cards and I say, okay, universe, source, whatever you use to tap into your tarot deck, I'm okay, universe, what is it that I need to be aware of this week? What do I need to be prepared for? What do I need to be careful of in my own self? Those kinds of things, because I want to approach as much as possible everything that I do in my life with the spirit of empathy, with the spirit of compassion, to be prepared and not scared, like Teresa Reed, the tarot lady, says all of the time. And so the way that I approach tarot in my own life with just my own self is those kinds of things. Because hello, fellow empaths, healers, intuitives, psychics, mediums, how many times in your life do you ignore the vibe because you second guess that, oh, I'm just sensitive, so I'm picking up on someone's vibe? Or is it your intuition telling you that something smells rotten in this fridge? That's how I use the tarot cards to help me personally. The way that I use tarot to help others changes depending on the situation and what they need. Some people need encouragement. Some people need tough love. I leave that up to the deck to decide. I often work in themes instead of specific questions because I'm a big picture thinker. So that's just the way that I work in relationship to my cards. I know other tarot readers, they have go-to spreads that they do. This position of this card always means this thing, and there's nothing wrong with either approach. When Tanya's situated, she's going to come on here and chat with us. She is doing the mom thing, and she's got some stuff going on in her mom world, and she will pop on when she's ready. So if you have any questions in relationships to how we use tarot in our life, how to use it in your daily practice, the different ways of using it, like some people use it for self-empowerment, some people use it to learn how to build relationship with their intuition. And we're definitely going to bring that up in our chat today, because there's a specific method that Tanya taught us when I took her Intro to Tarot course a while ago, more than a year ago. And it helped me to learn that my intuition, my inner truth, what I see, knows way more than I give it credit for. And that was an incredible, profound experience to have. So that looked like putting time aside every single day for a month with a journal and a tarot deck, and ditching the book that comes with it. So I literally gave the guidebook to my wife, who wasn't my wife yet, but I gave it to Olivia, and she hid it somewhere so that I couldn't look at it for a whole month. We bought a brand new deck, so I wasn't using a deck that I was already familiar with, so I couldn't go back onto memorization. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but the whole point of that was to learn how to trust my intuition. And now, because of that, I have confidence when I pull a card and I'm getting like the vibe that it means this thing. Like, I think this card means this in this context, in this situation, and here's why. And it has nothing to do with what the book says. I believe what it is that I say that the card means, regardless of what the guidebook says. Because here's the thing. The guidebook is the intention of the art of the artist married with the traditional meaning of the cards. You, as the reader, this is something cool that Tanya taught me and that she can like expand on. Oh, hey, Tanya's here. Yes. All right, so we're going to bring her on and then we'll talk about those things. Okay, so we'll give Instagram a minute to do what I said. Yay! Oh, I love your hair. Okay, it looks even better right now.
Oh, thanks.
So what I was just talking about was when you told me to get rid of the guidebook.
Yes.
And how I had reached the point where I had learned to trust my intuition. So this is like the one thing that we can use tarot for, is like building confidence in our inner truth and our inner voice. And how sometimes when I pull a card now, because of that exercise, because of that month of not looking at it, if what I think the card means is different than the book, I know I'm right because of that exercise. And I was just getting to the point where I was saying something along the lines of, I don't know, it's gone. Doesn't matter. Okay. So, hi, welcome. Welcome everyone in the comments. Please interact with us. We like people. So, how's it going?
It's going well. It's been a bit of a morning, and I feel like very much I'm supposed to be here, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be, and you kind of know, because I was, anyway. So
yeah, it's a thing. It's an ordeal
here because of the perfect timing that occurred.
Right. So I was talking about learning to trust our intuition through now I remember. We build a relationship with our decks. So I want to start there, and then you can like go where your brain goes and people can ask questions. And if I feel like we're going too far down a rabbit hole, I'll bring us back. You and I are very good at this. This is how we talk as human beings anyway. So tell us about building a relationship with the cards and what that kind of means.
So this is my belief. This is my little Tanya disclaimer. This is my belief system. This is how I operate. And if it resonates, take it. If it doesn't resonate, don't take it. But I feel like that we're always in a collaboration with the universe, source, spirit, our lives, like whatever title you want for it, that's kind of what we're always doing. And so if you think that 444 means I'm on the right path, that's what it means, because that's what you got. If you read on the internet that it means that angels are watching you and that's what you believe, great. I just feel like we get to have our own experience, and that it doesn't actually need to be externally validated by some textbook or some guidebook. So that said, I take the same mentality and apply it to tarot. So you get to interact with your deck and let it speak to you. And I feel like this creates a much more personal connection, a much more powerful connection, and opens up for more detailed readings. Like when I got off the guidebook and off of like the research and off of the memorizing meanings and stuff, is when I actually got way more detailed in my readings, and I would have these way more intimate or like personal moments with someone that I was reading for, because I wasn't just reiterating something from a script or from a book. Instead, I was going off of like what I felt or what I like. And usually there's some parallel, so I shouldn't say usually, but a lot of times there are some parallel between something I've experienced and something that this person is going through right now. And then I can speak to how that feels, or what they must be going through, or how that person feels influential in their life, or what that, anyways. So I feel like it makes everything just a bit more detailed, a little bit more custom, a bit more personal, and then honestly easier. Like it's easier
and it was like so funny to take that journal that we did when I took Tanya's course. That's not the reason why I'm doing this. I'm not plugging Tanya, but I also am, because friends celebrate friends. Anyway, okay. So when I took my journal after that, like 4 weeks or whatever, and I got Olivia to give me back my guidebook, I was right. Like I matched the key themes, words, colors, pictures, whatever. 98% of the time I was 100% correct, and even more in depth. And so what I was saying just before you popped on is that that exercise allowed me to trust my intuition, so that when a card pops up and it feels like the context doesn't make sense in the reading, I just trust what I think it means. And in that situation, because every now and then I'll be like reading for children, right? People will be like, "Hey, Cheryl, do you read for teens?" I'm like, "Only if their parents say it's okay, because I don't want to get sued." And then so like I'll read for a teenager, and then the lovers card will pop up. I'm like, well, this doesn't mean what it traditionally means when it comes up for my sexy single adult friends. So, like it's just like a totally different experience. So how do you, like, what are the different ways that you use tarot? Like for me, the way I read for myself is very different than how I read for others, sort of. Like, because I'm really sarcastic, so the message I get from my deck is different than the way I relay it to my clients.
I would actually go, same. Actually, all of that, yes.
I've literally been pulling cards and been like, okay, I get it, shut up.
I think the exact, I would have phrased it the exact same way that it depends on my sitter though. Like if I have a spicy sitter, then I will get spicier content to deliver too. So some people are way more receptive of morbid humor, dry humor, sarcasm. And so if that's like your like love language, so to speak, it will come through in the reading. I'll even tell people like, wow, like different, like, I don't love the word guides, but we'll just use it for our purposes. But different guides or different energies will like kind of I'll speak to it. I'll just be like, wow, they're really funny, or wow, they're really like kind of like laughing at you about this situation, or making fun of you in this situation, or whatever. So
you talking about me, Susan? Yeah, I've had it where like I just like I've used voice to text now for when I send my written readings, and then I go back and I correct all the grammar and like whatever before I send it. But sometimes I've read them and I'm like, oh, this is harsh. And then I'll hit send because I trust the process and I know by now. And then I'll get a response and be like, wow, that was incredible. That was insightful. I feel so seen and heard. And I'm like, really? Because I feel like I spanked you. And it's like so funny that you would say that. So how would you use tarot for like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say self-care because that's not quite what I mean, but like your own relationship with yourself versus when someone comes to you with a question? Is there a difference?
I think the only, like, to me, I guess the only difference is that, and I'm sure you've noticed this a lot too, is that, so if someone comes to me for a reading, there's sometimes very specifically, and I'll speak to it usually at the beginning of the reading and go, you know what, I don't think I'm going to tell you anything new today. I think everything I'm going to tell you is something you already know, but it's just confirmation that you do already know it. Like, it's confirmation that you, like, because we think a lot of things, or we're like, well, I think, and then having someone else say it is like, you know, confirmation. So,
Hi.
Carol, you want to say hi? Hi. So I think with when you're reading for yourself, it's not confirmation exactly, because you're still having to validate your own inner reality, right? Like, you're having to trust that what you're seeing and experiencing is the confirmation, or is like other than, or I guess beyond getting that outside source of confirmation, which is always for some reason more validating. And so so I think it's to me, when I read for myself, it is it's a
I did tell everyone that you were hashtag mom lifing, so don't worry about it.
When I read for myself, it's still flexing that muscle of trust and developing that inner reality. Oops, sorry.
It's a hard life. It's a hard life being a toddler.
As just, you know, if we had round doorknobs, it would sure stop them. Like, but we got the handle ones that are easier to get through.
That's cute. Yeah. I feel like sometimes, like, because like with you, I feel free sharing this. So I was not seeing the current reality of a situation that I'm in, and I knew that I wasn't fully equipped to make an informed decision. So I asked Tanya, and this is like time travel, divine timing is also cool. We can talk about that in another thing. I asked Tanya months ago for a reading, and I read it not that long ago. And I got it at the exact time that I needed the information. And I wouldn't have been able to read that for myself because I would have seen the conflict that I'm not going to name in a public space coming and run for the hills. And you were able to be like, well, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And here's why. I mean, you can do that, but if you do that, you're just going to have to relearn this lesson over and over and over again. Now is the time to learn this lesson and move through it. And here's why. And I wouldn't have been able to do that for myself because we're like blocked. Like yeah. So talk about like that, maybe. However, you're being inspired in your brain right now.
Well, I mean, it's the paradox that it's always easier to weigh in on somebody else's life than your own. Like, we have blind spots, and I think that that's when people come in, like, what I kind of joke about is that they come in with blinders on, and the reading just tends to give them more perspective. So you can kind of share different vantage points and share like, so even though you might validate, like, yes, like, this is happening, this is real, what's in this scope is real, but did you consider this? Did you consider this? And then, okay, consider this. So I think that it gives us a chance to, like, kind of open up that perspective. And I think reading for yourself like that can be tricky. It's doable, but you do have to be receptive to, like, to that, basically. So I do think reading for yourself is like the ultimate challenge. That's the big weightlifting, because you have to, you know, it's conscientiously moving your bias out of the way. So if you want the medium flex on that same muscle as reading for someone close to you, because you still have to conscientiously move that bias out of the way and read for them as, like, directly as you can, because if we have a friend and say we feel that their spouse is shitty and we want to like defend their honor, whatever, the cards might not say like, hey, up and leave them. We would, like, we'd be like, that person sucks for you, like you should leave that person. But it might not be, yeah, anyway, so then you have to practice.
Yeah, the cards know the fuller picture.
But the cards are just telling a different story. So sometimes that's a good way to get your bias out of the way, especially actually if you have something you feel strongly about personally in like with that person, and then you have to like go, right, but my opinion is not what I'm sharing right now. I've also done a thing where I'll tell people my opinion, like to get it out of the way. I'll be like, okay, well here, like the girlfriend in me, like you being your buddy, being your friend, wants to say this. I actually did this with a client the other day. I was like, listen, I'm a little invested in this now, in this whole scenario, because I've been reading for her for a while. And I was like, so the girlfriend in me wants to be like, girl, you deserve better, kind of thing. But this is what's being said. So that's also just like sometimes speaking to the elephant in the room sort of thing also gets out of
especially when you have a rapport with the person, and like whether you've been working with them for a long time or they're your friend. How do you use like yes no cards in your life? I've been seeing a lot of because like on social media we want to get engagement, so a lot of folks do like the drop an emoji for a yes no card. I don't personally find that every single card in the deck gives me a clear yes or no. I do know that like the 9 of Cups in the Light Seers Tarot, where it's like, wah, is a yes. It's like definitely a yes. Everything about that card is a yes. But I feel like there's a lot of maybe cards.
I feel like that too. I actually saw a really, really good TikTok on that. Someone broke that down where they talked about how to do kind of a yes no, and I actually thought it was really cool. So I stayed away from yes no only because, so this is like a little like an asterisk kind of thing, I generally just say I don't say them because it's simpler, but it's always got like a little caveat on it, of course. But if someone's coming to tarot to make a decision for them, I'll usually go like, well, it's not really how it works. Like you're the captain of the ship. Like you're driving your own boat, and you're like
agency.
yeah, you're living your life. So you have to like, you can't just like cop out. Like to me, I'd just be like, well, if you want a yes or no, flip a coin. Like this is equally as reliable as like going. So, and if that's how you want to live your life, by flipping a coin, like, hey, people can do that, and that's fine. But that in and of itself, like, I'm going to flip the coin and then I'm going to do what the coin says. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a strategy. But I feel like as a tarot reader, if you're coming to me and you're paying me, that I have a little bit of liability in the matter. So it feels irresponsible of me to be like, oh, I'm going to give you a yes on this or a no on this. I would actually rather throw it back at you and be like, hey man, flip a coin, because it's like, it's sort of the same sort of deal, is that I don't know that I feel it's very responsible of me as your reader to take on those yes no questions. So instead what I would do is like give information to make a more informed decision. So it's like, hey, okay,
you and I have very similar approaches to this. Yeah. So you get like information is power. And at any point, what I think a lot of folks don't understand is that tarot isn't like concrete. It's fluid. So you're not the only person involved in most situations in your life. And any of us can make a decision that will alter the outcome, whatever. So what I like that we think similarly, and I would love if someone's watching this now or later who does it the other way to discuss, because I would love to pick your brain about that. But I like to do potential blockages to this problem. Like what's the root of the question is something that I always ask, but I don't necessarily always share. It's a really good place for me to start. But I do potential blockages and potential outcomes for like each choice, right? So that people can be like, okay, so if I pick yes and I go this way, this is a potential pitfall, like this is a potential outcome. And I use the word potential on purpose because I don't claim to be a fortune teller. I don't claim to be a psychic. Cool for people who are. I'm not that person. Like, I do not know. I had someone ask me, like, what is the name of the person that I'm going to marry? I don't know. I didn't even know the name of the person I was going to marry when I was already living with them. So, like, I'm not a magic 8 ball. You can do what I can do if you practice.
I think you're more of a magic 8 ball than you give yourself credit for, probably. Just whatever, just my 2 cents. But see,
okay, well, I'm intuitive and I know shit. But I don't know that I know it. I just say the words that are in my brain, but I don't know that that's, like, does this make sense? Like, when someone asks me a question, I just answer what I'm thinking. It's not like some divine energy from outside of my body audibly tells me the answer. It's just there. So when someone's like, what's the name of my spouse? I don't know.
So the way I like to describe that to people, because I do forecast events, but that's what I call it, is a forecast. And so a forecast is like, there's a 60% chance of rain, like, right? Which means that, yeah, it's, this likelihood of rain, and then there's a chance that it won't be that rain. And just like a weather forecast, the further out, the further forward I'm projecting or I'm looking, it can get wobblier. Which actually has nuanced in and of itself. There are certain events that could be, 10 or 20 years from now, and if I'm speaking to them, they're likely going to happen. Like, you're going to likely, how you get there, I don't know, but you will. So I do feel like we can project or forecast or kind of call certain events. But then I also tell people, but like, life is kind of like Christmas, and spirit's kind of like our parents, and they don't want to tell us everything that's under the tree. Like, it takes the magic out of Christmas to know what you're unwrapping. So the name of your future spouse is like, well, that's a spoiler. Like,
it takes the fun out of the get to know you. It snatches the romance, because then you magically get their name, and then you meet them, and then you're already married to them in your mind, and they're like, who the hell is this?
But it's psycho. Can I share a story about the name thing though, because I think this is really cute. So this one chick, she's a TikTok creator. She shared this story, and I just thought it was like the most adorable thing ever, because she gets asked all the time. Her and her spouse have been together for like 10 years. They're super cute. They obviously have a really good relationship. And anyway, so she's like, yeah, I get asked a lot how we met. And so she shared the story, and she basically, she had just broken up. I can't remember the name, okay, but we're going to use Jason because that's all I can think of. So I had just broken up with this guy named Jason, and then I got told she's like, I went to a psychic, and the psychic said I was going to marry Jason, but not that one, like, not that guy. So she's like, basically, I just called everyone I knew and said, do you know a Jason? 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 And then she went on a date with this Jason guy, and then they've been together ever since. And I'm like,
wow,
that's really funny. So
yeah, and that's not what I do. So people, if you find someone who does that, you keep them in your back pocket, because they are very handy. Should I buy this house? No, run. You need those psychics in your life as well. Yes.
True. Everybody's got a thing, but I do feel like it's like we have to like make room for transformation in our journey too. So like right now you're saying, okay, like, I don't know the first name of your spouse right now, or maybe you haven't had a reading where that's come through, but you could have a reading where that comes through.
Yeah. So a good example of that is, like, I remember telling you during your course that I would be wary of ever telling someone that there's a pregnancy in their reading. Okay. And then a couple months later, I had to eat my words, because which one? The one with the goddess with the belly, whatever, the major arcana card with the pregnant lady, that one. Yeah, she flipped over, and I was like, someone's pregnant, and it just came out. Like, it just, and then this person messaged me back, and she's like, that's not possible, blah, 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 yeah. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, you were right, there's a baby. Because the way I said it was like, either there's a pregnancy or an infant coming into your home. Like, it was clear to me that it was an infant. And normally when I read that card, it's about creativity, transformation, nurturing, whatever. But in this instance, plain, like, I felt deep in the pit of my stomach that I had to say baby. So I did. And then she's like, yeah, actually, we have an unexpected child coming. It was a surprise pregnancy, right? You know, when you hit the menopause. Yeah. And I was like, huh, I'm so good. No, well, yes, but I read what the card said. And I was like, okay, so I'm not going to say never anymore. I'm going to say I don't do that in my practice. It's not that it won't ever happen, because like you said, I allow for what it says to be what it says. But I don't take those kinds of questions on. If they pop up in the reading, I will deliver you the information. But I also don't do any big bombs. Like, if I see a big death or something, I ask for more information from the card. So I'm like, okay, cool, this is disgusting. How do I help them prepare for it? And then I tell them all that information. There's something coming, and here's how you should prepare for it. Because I personally, my empathetic self is like, I can't give this news. I will cry.
I feel like anytime you say, like, you know, to source, because I've had the same, it's almost the exact same thing occur, but anyways, where I feel like if you say to source, like, no, I don't talk about that, or, oh no, I don't do that, then they'll throw shit at you where it's like, oh yes, you will.
You signed up on this soul contract to be a healer and to be a conduit, and now you don't get to reset the terms of the agreement, young person.
It is tricky. Like, so I used to say I don't do death and I don't do, but it's now circumstantial. So I had an instance where I saw someone's mother passing away. And obviously that's not an ideal, you know, situation to share. So I sort of did what you did to a degree, as I was like, okay, I see this, I acknowledge this. And I spoke to it almost hypothetically, like, it's like, well, if there is a passing, you know, this is what might happen afterwards or whatever. And this person's mother was in palliative care, so it wouldn't have been shocking to say that she would pass away for this person. So this is what I'm noticing too, is that sometimes when this stuff comes up, it's coming up in a way that is like at a point where this person can digest it a little bit better. So I didn't still feel comfortable just being like, yep, totally, she's checking out, she's out of here. So I kind of left it, but it actually came up 2 more times in the reading, the exact same card in the exact same position. So I was like, okay, I think I can speak to this, but I asked the person in front of me, I said, is there anything you don't want to know? Like, is there anything that you feel uncomfortable discussing, or do you want to lay it all out? Or is there any, like, do you want to set some boundaries for this reading? And so then it helps me know where they're at, because you will see someone visibly shift their body language. So one of 2 things will happen. One, or maybe 3. One is they'll be like, yeah, I'm good. Like, you hit me kind of thing. Okay, cool. Then we know we're good. 2 is they will become visibly uncomfortable and kind of go like, well, what do you mean? And they'll get kind of shifty. And then I know, okay, we're going to bring some of this information forward, but I am going to do it very, very strategically. Like, very, very like, okay, here, I'm noticing that there is going to be an event coming up where you might want to have these resources prepared. And then we kind of like walk them through that. Or you get the third person where they're like, nope, I don't want to know this. I don't want to know this. I don't want to know this. And you're like, okay, cool. It's that second person that's the trickiest, because they will tend to push for information that they don't actually want. So that one I have, I don't want to say the hardest time dealing with, but again, I go back to my own comfort and liability and go like, I don't want to be responsible for this person's anxiety moving forward. So I instead will work with much more, and my cards, and I'm sure yours, like, offer so much support and guidance and advice. So I just like kind of almost double down on that focus of like, you know, advice, support, and whatever. And then I also find that if they are like that, my cards will be unclear on the event, aka they won't put me in the position to make that person anxious or hold me accountable, I guess, to any like icky feelings sort of thing. Because yeah, like I said, you can kind of tell when you've got someone that will do that.
So, like, in this theme of trusting our intuition and maybe learning what that even means, I know, like, there's a lot of folks who are, like, because I was there, where I don't want to say scared. That's not the right word, but like apprehensive about following the feelings of our intuition because in the past we either didn't or we confused some like anxiety for intuition or whatever. You have something coming up soon that will help folks who need to reconnect with that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's funny as you're talking about it, I just got a little like wave of anxiety going, oh my gosh, that's tomorrow. Like what happened to time? Like
It's already tomorrow.
yeah, I think so. I think I put it down for March 7th and that's tomorrow.
What even is time? Anyway, so tomorrow.
So tomorrow I have a workshop on developing your intuition. And I record it. So even if you can't attend it live and you want to participate, you can get in on the recording. So feel free, basically, even if you're not available at the exact time. But it's a 90-minute workshop, and essentially I just go through different ways to validate, strengthen, and kind of like really just create a stronger connection between yourself and your intuition. So everybody is intuitive. I think it's a birthright. It's not special. It's not a gift. Now, granted, yes, there are some of us that exit the womb with a higher skill set in certain areas. So yes, there are some people more like privy or like might click in a little simpler, but ultimately it's something that's accessible to absolutely everyone. And just like any other skill with patience and practice, it's super easy to develop. I kind of also like to think of it, or I explain it like our first language. So it's kind of like learning a language, but it's the first one you had. So you will default
It's
back.
why babies cry when someone in the room is stressed out, because they know that the vibe is weird.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, one of the points that I usually cover, because it usually comes up, is like, how do I differentiate my anxiety or my worries or my ego from my intuition? And it is a common, like it's a bump, like it's a problem, and I don't think we actually ever like get over it. We just get different mechanisms to manage it. So I still, and I'm sure you still will have times where there's a run-in, or in hindsight you go, oh, I thought that was intuitive, but actually I was over here in this lens. So
Yeah.
we get better at it, but it's never going to be cut and dry. But one thing that I can say reliably is that your intuition will be supportive, will be compassionate, and or neutral and factual. So they're never going to be inflammatory or hype up a problem. So if you're worrying about something and then you go down like a tunnel of worrying, that's you worrying. That's anxiety.
Yeah, that's fear. That's fear. Yeah.
Yeah. Versus your intuition will give you a notification, and it will be a neutral statement, a factual statement, a supportive statement, or a compassionate statement. So it's not going to give you something that's like, well, you better not do this because this might happen. That's not how a warning would be delivered in spirit. It would be more
It's
like,
more like, I feel like it's more like a are you sure situation. Like when I'm doing something or about to do something or about to make a commitment or something, I get almost like the bungee cord effect where I'm walking towards something full steam ahead because my ego really wants it or whatever. And then I feel like I just kind of get like a bit of a like a pothole when you're driving or something, and then it's like it gives me a second to pause and consider, rather than if you do this blah blah blah. No, that is your traumatic parental voice in the back of your head and not your intuition. I love that. So how can people register for that?
You can, if you go on my Instagram, it's very easy. There's a poster that gives the information, but basically just send an ease transfer with the amount, and then email me your email address so I have your contact information, and then I'll send, today I will send out the information because I'm like, oh okay. My God, it's tomorrow. How did this happen? I have no
So
idea.
is that available internationally, or is that for Canadian folks only? Because I don't know how e-transfer works.
It's global because I also have a PayPal option. So
Yes, me too. I
yeah,
have multiple payment methods so that I can be as accessible as possible. But they all
exactly.
connect to the same bank account. What is the internet?
We're being open to all sources of abundance.
Yes, abundance out, abundance in. Okay, well, I'm really thankful for you taking time out of your chaotic, in a good way, life to be with us, and I hope we can chat again soon. Yeah, so if any of you have questions for Tanya, like, go ask them. She's incredible, and just know that she has a very busy toddler and another one on the way. So it might take her a hot minute to reply. It's not that she doesn't like you or didn't care. She cares deeply. She just has a toddler. And all of the moms watching are like, yes.
It really is what it is it's an accumulation of 2 years of sleep deprivation. There's a lot of glitches in here, so I need some support. That's all it is.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm leading the questions. Like, I asked Tanya before we did this, and like, do you want him to prepare or are we winging it? And you were like, let's wing it. And I was like, okay, so I'll prepare it in my mind. And I'll just like, keep us going.
I'm all about the wing it. Like, let it flow with.
Exactly. Okay, I love you. Have a good day. Go out and do you have sunshine there today? Do you have any sun?
Yes, blue skies.
Okay, yeah. Go get some like low dose vitamin D because we live in Canada. And have a good day.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.